Welcome back. We're about to talk about a dramatic film that is certainly much buzzed about, and not only because of its cast, but also because of its subject matter. And we are going to be taking a look and having a conversation this morning about, well, gender equity. Is there a place where we are achieving this ideal, this goal? I'm not sure that we are, but specifically this morning we're going to look at a place in the world known as the world of finance, Wall Street, specifically investment banking. There's a lot of intrigue there, and there's also a glass ceiling that has existed for a very long time. That being said, the lead character of Equity is working to do the best that she can to shatter that glass ceiling, and finds out along the way that there is some intrigue and some things to certainly be afraid of. I'm here with Amy Fox. She is the storyteller, she is the screenwriter, and I am here with Mira Menon. She is the director of the film. This is Equity. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Welcome. Nice to see you.
You too.
Congratulations.
Thank
on
you.
being here with your film. As we discussed a little bit before we came on camera, things have been a little bit under wraps, which of course is always great for buzz, especially when you have a very high-profile cast, and specifically Anna Gunn from Breaking Bad, who is... She's just buzz. She just wakes up in the morning and she is buzz.
Electric.
Great performer. Talk a little bit about the background, the more specific overview of the film, and your experience shooting Equity.
Sure. The concept for the film originated with the producers of the film, Sarah Megan Thomas and Alicia Reiner, who are also a star in the film. And they brought me on pretty early in the process with the idea of doing the first female-driven Wall Street movie. And I was very excited about that as a writer. Not having a background in finance myself, I dove into about a month of research. I just really wanted to get comfortable before writing a word. So
Sure.
I did a lot of interviews, men and women on Wall Street, did a lot of just plunging into the different aspects of finance to figure out where were we going to focus. We ended up focusing on investment banking and specifically the process of taking a tech company public. And it's been a wild ride. This film happened very quickly. About 9 or 10 months after I started writing, Mira was brought on to direct. And it's just been like an extraordinary train ride, just going forward at every point.
Did you get the sense of sort of what the politics of Wall Street are like in those initial interviews? And I'm sure there were probably a few type A, Masters of the Universe white guys that you interviewed. Did they give you that sense in a short time span?
I think so, yes. But you know what was interesting to me was that I don't know, the images that we see of Wall Street often in films can be a bit exaggerated. Wolf of Wall Street being probably the biggest example of that.
Of course.
And in the meetings I had, they're normal people. They go to work every day. They work really hard. There's not like a stripper on the desk. I mean, I do think that existed in the 80s, and it may exist now, but they're not showing us that.
Right.
And in fact, I was surprised because both men and women were so passionate about this story getting told. It was this universal feeling of why there are these women. We're working with these women, or we are these women, and why are these stories never on the screen?
I mean, just to kind of to piggyback on that, I think part of the reason for that is that, you know, typical Wall Street movies that we've seen before are movies that explore themes around money and power, and those are not themes that we've seen told through a female perspective, because historically those are not things that women have had.
Right.
And so to really kind of narrow in on the women in this world that have been able to kind of crack through that glass ceiling and access power in that way is an extraordinary thing. And I think that it was, just an honor to kind of access it through Amy's story as well.
And a question without knowing specifically what your scene shots are and those kinds of things, but if you would talk a little bit about what might sound to someone who didn't consider it deeply, maybe not the most exciting story to shoot, in as much as it's not action that involves machine guns and mountainsides, but rather a lot of interiors, a lot of offices. At least I'm
Sure.
conjecturing in that way. Talk
Correct.
about how you make that visually compelling.
I mean, I think that we had an incredible cinematographer, Eric Lynn, and one of the first things he said to me about how to approach shooting this was to really think about the visual language of the film as being drawn from the psychology of the characters in terms of its shading, in terms of what angles we were choosing, in terms of where we chose to place the camera. And that was because the script was really kind of a character-driven, character-centered experience in reading it. And I think, yeah, for our cinematographer to even read the script and know that we really needed to draw everything from the place of character and story because of the script that Amy wrote and because of this world that the producers had cultivated or kind of created. I think that was how we kind of approached understanding how to define a visual language around it.
And also, I'll just jump in. Part of it, I think, was embracing the nature of the world, because in the writing stage, for a very long time, we were playing with this scene where we wanted a certain character who is not working in finance, actually, to enter the world of a trading floor. And, you know, again, the way you picture it from past films is this very adrenaline-charged place with these guys shouting and loud noise. And when we actually went to visit trading floor, and you were with me that day, right? It's an incredibly quiet place now, and everything is happening on IM. It's just a bunch of people sitting at desks quietly typing on IM. And so at first we thought, oh, how are we going to make this dramatic? But to me, I actually thought, well, that's interesting, right? It's interesting. And so I wrote a line, I don't know if it ended up in the movie actually, but where the woman who walks into that space says, oh, I thought it would be louder. And one of the guys says, we rule the world by IM now, you know, because we just embraced that. That's interesting. That's new.
Sure. Would it be fair to say that these realities, the logistics of production, make it even more of an actor's movie?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the film attracted an incredible cast like Anna Gunn, like James Purefoy. The producers, of course, were our leads in the film. And you know, everyone that was drawn to the script was not drawn to it for the paycheck. I mean, this was a true independent film at the end of the day. They were drawn to it because of the material and because of the incredible scene work they would get to engage with it as actors. And so that was what drew me into it. I mean, as a director, obviously, I'm interested in creating a visual story, but my job is also to understand and kind of curate the experience of lifting a scene off the page and being there for the actors as they do that. And this was exactly Amy has this incredible background as a playwright, and I think that really shines through in the script. The actors were really drawn to it for that reason, I think.
So it sounds to me as though from the start, one of the things that you all wanted to achieve in making the film was to sort of demystify what's kind of a stereotyped imaginary world of what finance, what investment banking is like. That being said, the sharp end of the stick for the story is that things get a little dicey for Anna Gunn's character with respect to the jockeying that takes place to be the banker that's going to take a company public, getting that valuation, all of that stuff. Talk about that transition of making it realistic, a quiet trading floor with cell phones, but then morphing into a part of the narrative where things really are dramatic, and that's the crucible of the film.
Yeah, I mean, well, she said it, right? Money and power. Like, no matter how quiet it is, there are huge stakes in this world, and like you said, not everyone can be on top, you know. And our Anna Gunn, the character's dream is to be what they call a rainmaker, and there aren't a lot of rainmakers in that world. And she has worked in this same firm for her whole career, and is trusted that if she sort of performs well and just keeps rising and keeps doing her work, that she will get there. But behind the scenes, there is all kinds of intrigue and backstabbing and stuff that could potentially bring her down.
Absolutely, and I think the stakes are also formed in the relationships between the characters. You know, like even though these things, you know, the kind of action sequences that you're talking about, or the kind of the broader kind of visual way in which stakes are established may not be there. I mean, these people, and again, the story that these guys kind of had developed involves a really intimate set of relationships that get compromised in the process. So not only is Anna, you know, kind of experiencing these things, but she's experiencing things and having her relationships compromised as well. And that's what makes the story emotional and takes it kind of to a deeper place.
And just to add to that, what was interesting in interviewing so many women on Wall Street is that many of them, not all of them, but many of them who started, in the 80s, in the 90s, many of them, those relationships, those work relationships, are a family. Our character, she didn't get married, she didn't have children, she put
what
her
you
work
give up
first.
to be there
Exactly.
12, 14 hours a day.
So the people in her life are these people at work. So when those relationships are compromised, she doesn't have anyone else.
The earth shifts below you. Talk a little bit about how it goes through the shooting process. Did you discover anything about the characters? Did the actors bring subtleties and changes to the characters that maybe you hadn't anticipated when you were getting ready to shoot, or were you very tight to the script and to the ideas that you had as you wrote?
I'm going to let Mira answer that. I was on set about 5 days, but from my perspective, it was very loyal to the script, but with a wonderful freedom. I mean, there are lots of little moments that the actors and Mira made their own.
I don't think you planned on Michael being British, but then an incredible actor like James Purefoy shows up, and you're like, well, that makes sense. Just the way he talks and how charming he is.
Incredible that a guy from London works in New York.
Absolutely.
Vice versa.
But those are the kind of tiny shadings that, like, the right actor with the right role, kind of like when they come together, they do kind of create something new, and that is what's exciting about the process, right? Yeah.
And I realize it's very early on in the life of this film still, but it occurs to me that perhaps in 2016 your potential audience is better informed, whether it be because of the boom in internet stocks and that entire period 10, 15 years ago, and the fact that people are ever more concerned about their 401k because they don't just have an employer who is putting money away for them and that sort of thing. Do you have a sense of that while this might have been esoteric subject matter sometime in the past, now people are more familiar, the average person is more familiar with the terminology and what's at stake?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the choices we made was to step outside of finance and also into the world of new tech companies in Silicon Valley. So, and a lot of the drama in the film is building to the day of this initial public offering of this tech company going public. And we used Facebook as a little bit of a model because the Facebook IPO, although it did rally, the first day of it was very dramatic.
Yes.
And then we feel like people are aware of that. It's not an esoteric thing. Everyone is looking at Facebook probably 4 hours a day. So if that company is doing its IPO, a lot of people are going to be watching that.
And that's the bridge to understanding what all of that stuff means, and there's a relevance and context with a pretty big company like Facebook finally going public. Talk about screenings. What's happening from here on out in the festival?
We premiere tonight at 6 p.m. at the Library Theater, and we're really excited because yesterday we just announced that the film has been bought by Sony Pictures Classics, so we know that it will be distributed.
Tom Bernard. You guys got a good out. If your film gets acquired by Pictures Classics and Tom Bernard, then
we are so excited, and we're very excited to screen it in front of the audience here at Sundance. We've never screened the final cut of the movie in front of an audience.
Right.
This is our first real kind of chance to show it, and as I've always kind of thought, the audience keeps you honest as filmmakers. So I feel like we're going to continue to learn about this film through this experience, and that's exciting. And then to know that it will continue to go out there in a kind of bigger way is just why we did it in the first place. It's why we're filmmakers to begin with, is to show it to people and have them watch it.
Well, congratulations on the film, on being here at the festival. I'm sure you'll have a wonderful time tonight. Is there a place on the interwebs where you would like to send people who aren't here in Park City to find out more about the film? Is there a website or
the social media channels? We're on Facebook, Equity the Film, Twitter, Instagram, all of those things, and we have a website as well. Broad Street Pictures, the name of the company these two producers put together to produce the film. They have a website, broadstreetpictures.com, I believe it is. So all of the things. We are all over.
Nice work, marketers. You just crushed the game. Mira, Amy, thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful time tonight, and we'll look for more great work from you in the future.
Thank you so much.
This is fun.
Okay, guys, quick break. We'll be back with more right after this on In the Can. Please stay tuned to Park City Television.